No president of the United States, Republican or Democrat, has the authority to give away our sovereignty. And so if there's anyone up here who would be bound by this catastrophic deal with Iran, they're giving up the core responsibility of commander-in-chief. I am the only candidate on this stage who has never supported amnesty and, in fact, who helped lead the fight to stop a massive amnesty plan in 2013 when Barack Obama and Harry Reid joined the Washington Republicans in a massive amnesty plan.
That was 2016. Presidential candidate Texas Senator Ted Cruz at last night's GOP presidential debate. He joins us now. Senator, good to see you. I want to get into this because I agree with you. I think there's a reason that we have insurgent candidates at the top. Donald Trump, Carly Fiorina, Ben Carson, and you. I would view you as the insider insurgent, if you will. And that is, people have had it with the Republican Party betraying their base, breaking their word, not using the power of the purse on either immigration or on Obamacare. And I would imagine Planned Parenthood is going to be a huge fight, too. Why won't they fight? Why are they surrendering?
Sean, you're exactly right. People are fed up with Washington, and I think this 2016 primary field reflects that. You look at Republican leadership in Congress, and their first step is always, always, always to surrender. And there's a pretty clear contrast. Barack Obama is actually committed to his principles. I'll give him credit for that. I disagree with his principles. I think they're dangerous and they're wrong. But he's committed to them. So Barack Obama tells Congress, if you don't fund 100% of Obamacare, I, Barack Obama, will veto funding for the entire federal government. And GOP leadership caves. Barack Obama says, if you don't fund 100% of my illegal executive amnesty, I'll veto funding for the entire federal government. And GOP leadership caves. Barack Obama says now, if you don't fund Planned Parenthood, a private organization, is not part of the government, but if you don't give $500 million to this private organization that is committing ongoing criminal acts, I, Barack Obama, will veto funding for the government. And the response from Republican leadership is they preemptively surrender. They say, we will not have a shutdown, which means they hand all decision-making authority to Barack Obama and to Harry Reid and Nancy Pelosi. That's why people are frustrated, and they're looking for leaders who don't just talk about it, but have a record of standing up to Washington, standing up to both Democrats, and this is critical to members of our own party, to Republican leadership as well.
Isn't another example? I mean, I never understood the Corker-Cardin bill. Doesn't the Constitution talk about a two-third majority in the Senate over treaties? Shouldn't they have defined this as a treaty and not let the president get away with defining it as not being a treaty?
Absolutely, Sean. It made no sense. The Senate gave up our constitutional authority to ratify this as a treaty. And right now, leadership doesn't want to win this fight. We've had a series of show votes. But I laid out last week in a long letter to Leader McConnell and Speaker Boehner a plan of attack to actually win, to stop this Iran deal. Number one, for Republican leaders in both chambers to conclude that the president had not submitted the entire deal because he didn't hand over the side deals. There are a couple of side deals dealing with inspections. And under the terms of federal law, actually under Corker-Cardin, until the full deal is submitted and 60 days have expired, it's illegal for President Obama to lift the sanctions.
Then why don't they do that? Why don't they enforce the law as it's written? And it very specifically says
yes.
Any other amendments or annex indicators in this thing. Why don't they hand over the whole deal? Then the clock starts.
Because they don't want to win. Their sole object is that they were grinning ear to ear because we had the votes this week, and the votes, the Democrats, by and large, all voted with Obama on this catastrophic Iranian deal, and Republicans voted against it. And from their view, okay, we've got a political show vote. That's all that matters. How about we use every constitutional power we have? And let me note right now, we're heading into a funding fight on September 30th. If Republican leadership actually meant what we're telling the American people, that this is the single greatest national security threat facing America, that the Ayatollah Khamenei with a nuclear weapon could murder millions of Americans or Israelis or Europeans, then we would use our constitutional authority to stop it. We would pass a continuing resolution that says no funds may be used to administer this catastrophic deal.
You could do it on all these things. All right, here's my
Absolutely.
question. So I'm watching the WWE debate last night. You said this about it, you said that about it, and I find myself frustrated because I wanted to hear more from you. You did not get anywhere near the time of other candidates. I wanted to hear more from Marco Rubio, more from maybe Scott Walker, who got probably the least amount of time. What is your reaction to? Do you think this is a helpful process? Would you do it differently?
Well, listen, I am encouraged by what we're seeing in the primaries across the country. The debates themselves, the moderators are looking for clash. They're looking for a food fight. They're trying to turn it into Jerry Springer. I mean, I really was waiting to see if they would get someone to actually pick up a chair and throw it.
I was waiting for a chair to go flying. Here's what I want. How do you are viewed as an insurgent candidate? Mm-hmm. How do you break through to that now top tier as you sit in the second tier right below in the top four?
Well, you know, we're right now, nationally, we're polling number 4 nationally. I'm number 3 in Iowa. We're polling near the top in both New Hampshire and South Carolina. You know, our focus is very much playing the long game. We're building a grassroots team. We have united conservatives on the ground, particularly in Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina, and then all through the Super Tuesday states, the so-called SEC primary. Our focus right now is on grassroots, number 1, and then fundraising. You know, one of the incredible things, the first debate we had on Fox News, in the 100 hours that followed that, we raised $1.1 million as people all over the country, they went to tedcruz.org, and they contributed. We saw an explosion of momentum. It's my hope that will continue. And so our focus is on the long game because I think, listen, after all the fireworks ends, after all the fun ends, people are going to ask the question, okay, I want an outsider. I want someone who will stand up and fight in Washington, fight the Washington cartel. They're going to ask the next question. Who actually has stood up and fought the Washington cartel? And I think when it comes to record, there's a clear difference between campaign conservatives who suddenly discover they're against Planned Parenthood when they're running for president and a consistent conservative who's been standing and fighting the fight. You know, when the Gang of Eight was being pushed, when Marco Rubio and a number of others were pushing the Gang of Eight, I stood shoulder to shoulder with Jeff Sessions leading the fight to defeat amnesty. And if you look at the other folks on that stage, none of them were there as part of that fight leading the fight to stop amnesty. So now they say they're against it. But when the fight was happening, when they had an opportunity to take on the Washington cartel, they didn't step up to the plate. And I think that's what primary voters are looking for, is someone they can trust, a consistent conservative, the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow.
I hope I'm wrong, but I predict on the 2 issues we were discussing earlier, Planned Parenthood funding and on the conditions for the release of funds to Iran, I don't think they're going to make it. I think they're going to cave. And I think this is just going to fuel conservative anger, justifiable anger in my view. But, Senator, good to see you. Thank you so much for taking time to be with us.
Thank you, Sean. God bless you.
Appreciate it.